these are the best initial messages for social media cold outreach in 2025. My name is Dennis Hampel, and I've been doing strictly social media outreach for B2B companies for the last 5 years. And I founded a social media cold outreach Twitter software back 3 years ago. And based on the data I've collected over all of our users, I've been able to gather the best performing openers out there right now. And I'm going to show you which ones can you use, how do you craft them, give you examples, and then give you some overall principles that you should stick to when you're creating your own openers. Okay, so there are only two types of cold outreach initial messages you can use, and that is indirect and direct. Okay, the difference between them: for indirect message, your sole goal is just to get a reply. Okay, so you're maximizing your reply rate. You're just trying to get message back. The reason you do that on social media is once you get a reply back, you're now in the main inbox of your prospect. Okay, this is if you're sending on cold. And once you are there, they're getting notifications to all of your messages unless they block your immunity. Okay, so that is the reason why people use indirect. Now the other one is direct, and that is more used, and that is more similar to, for example, when you're sending out the cold email. Okay, so you tell them your unique selling proposition, your offer, and try to get replies from the people that are interested. So these are kind of differences between these two, and now we're going to dive into uh, more principles about both of them and some examples that you can use. Okay, so for the indirect initial message, I'm just going to move myself here. For the indirect initial message, the purpose is just to get a reply, as I said. You're trying to spark up the curiosity, okay? And the goal here is to get an easy to answer message. So if we like usually the simplest ones that you can use and the ones that are usually gonna have like one of the best replies is just greetings like hi, hey, hello. Ideally, you can personalize with the first name like hey Dylan, hi. These are very good, very simple, and very effective. Okay. Now you can also add simple to answer questions like can I ask you a quick question? How are you doing? Is this really you? Are you in insert industry? So you can play around with this, but these are the sort of questions you're trying to these are the type of messages you're trying to use for this specific method, and you're just trying to get a reply. Okay, so very simple, works very good. But you have to come with that the conversation is going to be a little bit longer. Okay, so instead going straight to the offer, you might familiarize yourself with the prospect a little bit before you jump right into it. Okay, so like that's kind of the drawback. So if you're setting up from 10, 20, 100 accounts, this is maybe not the way to go unless you have some sort of AI automating the replies, which we have on the platform. But the next one is the direct initial message, as we talked about. And this is going to be probably more familiar to those of you that have been in the cold outreach space. And this is just going to the point, trying to get a yes or no from the prospect right away usually. And yeah, but you use very much the same principles. Okay, you're not doing anything too significant. And again, you're not trying to make this be a cold email message. You don't want to write down paragraphs. You just want to point out the offer. This is mostly good if you're trying to disqualify the unrelevant prospects. This is also good if you want to make the workflow easier and just get yes or no's, and just get straight to the point. So these are some of the examples I've found our users used that have like very good reply rates, at least above 5%. And so let's look at them. So the first one, would you be against? This is very good. You also have to see with these types of messages, like what are the first 3 to 4 words that the people see, because that's what they are gonna see mostly, So they're gonna see the first few words and before they even click, So they right now they have to make a decision. Am I even gonna open up this message? Doesn't make sense. Now, most of the part, if they are gonna open up the message, plays on their profile setup, but again, also your message matters, So That's also something to keep in mind. So the first one, would you be against trying out into your product service? So let's say I'm doing it for my case. Hey, would you be against trying out, our Twitter outreach software that can help you, get more customers if I would help you set up everything for free? Now you can play around with this offer. What I'm mostly, interested in is this: would you be against trying out? This is like the kind of point of this first one. The rest of it can be changed as you wish. The second one, we can build out. This is usually we can build out like an infrastructure. We can build out a system. So if your service is like, if you can call it like a system or something big. So let's say we can build out you like a cold email system. We can build you out like a organic uh, content management system, anything like that, and then like for free. So that's the initial first line that are going to get them interested. And then the second one, you're just explaining your unique selling proposition. So you go a little bit more into you can go, of course, you can keep this more like simple. So you can combine direct and indirect, like have the first line talk about the system, and then just maybe one liner like what is it for, like what are kind of vehicles they're using to achieve that result, and then just ask like, would you be open to do this? Very simple. Now the next one, this is very strong, and like this is one of the openers that have had the best reply rate on Xreacher, and that is, can I pay you to promote? Okay, so this is usually best for affiliate offers. So let's say you have a service or product, and you're trying to find other people, other marketers that are going to be promoting your service, and your opening is, can I pay you to promote my service? Usually, like, this is going to break the pattern for most people are used to getting, are you going to buy my shit? Now you're saying, can you promote my shit if I pay you money? So this is really really good for, and you can use this same principle for other openers that you may come up with. And this is just why it worked so good, is that this word, like, it confused a lot of people and they were not expecting this kind of message. So really good. If you're running any sort of affiliate offers, this is the one to go with for sure. Okay, now, don't want to pitch you without permission. So this was a line popularized by Charlie Morgan, for those of you that know him. And this is just, you're asking to get a permission usually. So this could be used as a opener in itself. In this case, the user that I found this with, he used it in a way that he just used it as the preview of that message, so that people saw, like, I don't want to pitch you without the permission. But then he essentially pitched them in the rest of the message. Okay, it worked out for him. I think he had about five. He had like 5.6% reply rate. The reply rate doesn't matter that much when it comes to direct message variation. All that matters is conversion. So number of, like, what's the message to call booked ratio, like what are the conversions? The reply rates, they don't tell you that much. But this is just how I took it. And so, would you be open to hear more about it? That's usually the simplest way to ask people. Like, you just described the USP in a simple manner. You can go here, would you be open to hop on a call with me sometimes next week? If you want to go straight to the call to action, or if you need to tell them more info about it or pre-qualify them before that, then you do this. Now the last one I prepared for you here is, we've built insert a product, want to try for free. So again, if I'm going to use it for my example, like if you're a SaaS owner, this is a really good one. But even if you are, if you build any other kind of product, like we built this Twitter outreach software that sends, like, 450 messages per day for users. Do you want to try it for free, or do you want to try, the pro version for free for 14 days? We're running like a limited offer that is right now available to just a few people. Something that makes it sound really, really intriguing, and that people feel that there is some sort of urgency there, that it's not going to be forever. And these offers are going to work very good. Okay, so now let's look at some general principles. Okay, so make sure, like, this is one of the biggest things, make sure your message is easy to read and easy to understand. And what I use for this is Hemingway editor. Okay, so this is a really good way for you to know if you are writing something that's hard to read or that's easy to read. So let's just insert one of the openers here. Okay. So you're gonna insert it here. As you can see, good readability. The grade is, if you want to try to keep the grade below 5, so the less the better. Right now we're just using some hard to read words, but what you begin against trying out are, Twitter outreach tool. If I help you set up everything for free. Now, if I start typing more, like it's great software that's gonna help you land more customers and get more money. The grade is gonna keep going down, and the more words you type in here, then you're gonna start getting recommendations, and you're gonna figure out if your text is easy to read. So you want to really keep the words simple and make it so that almost anyone, within 3 seconds they can read, or like 5-10 seconds, can get the point what you're trying to say to them and decide, do I reply, do I not reply? Okay, so that's the general point here. And again, so for personalizations, of course I recommend the more you personalize the better, but you have to find a sweet balance between the amount of personalizations you can do and the amount of messages you can send. Okay, so that's a balance. I will leave it up for you. Of course, you can personalize every single one of your messages, write them manually, and make this big paragraph for each one of the people you're writing it to. The question is, like, is it worth for you, or is it maybe worth to just maybe personalize the first name, something about them, maybe their industry, something, but send out hundreds and hundreds of more messages every single day? Well, I'm not going to judge if that's better or not better for you, but you make your own decision on that. Now, the follow-ups to the initial message will increase the reply rate significantly, okay? So this is true on most of social media, like, because what they are doing with follow-ups, again, once you're like implying that you are more interested to get their reply, so you just didn't send one message, you're persistent, and this is very significant in sales. You're persistent, trying to get a reply, you're going back to the top of their message requests, and they just see more effort from you. That's basically it. Like, that's why follow-ups work at all. And most salespeople are going to tell you that most of the sales are after a certain amount of follow-ups. So that's about follow-ups. And what I would also recommend you to, and this might sound unnatural to you, but that is to use sudden typos, to make your message look more human-like. What I mean, so let's say you use, hey name, how are you doing? I would either use like, hey, types, like enter some typo in the hey, or like just mistype something that could be commonly mistyped, especially when you're doing the indirect outreach, okay? Because what you're implying in the indirect outreach, you're just quickly send them a message, but many people, like, if you want to make it more human like, you would maybe want to make a mistake here and there. I'm not saying that everything has to be filled with typos, but you can try a few variations where your message has like a one typo. If you're doing like a direct, more professional approach, maybe you don't want to include typos, but maybe you just don't capitalize certain words. Again, making that human element into it, where people don't think it's just an automation. So that's like a really, really important as well, especially if you're not personalizing as much. This can make it or break it for some people, and the prospects can then think that they actually read like a personalized message. And yeah, so the next one is going to be split as the different versions of your initial messages. So what I mean, ideally find a software that allows you to do that, where you're able to enter multiple variations of that initial message and just split this. Okay, so maybe you want to try initial message, maybe you want to try direct message as well, and different approaches, different angles for both of these. You can try that and then figure out what is producing the most results. I mean, you cannot just be judging based on the reply rates, because the reply rates will not tell you everything. So maybe if you want to run a test, you run 1 or 2 weeks, you just run one variable. So maybe you're just gonna test out the indirect approach, see what kind of reply rate you get, but mostly focus on what's the main KPI, like what's the conversion to get on a call with them, or to sign up for a free trial, or click on the website link, whatever the call to action may be. That's the most important part, not the reply rate itself. And once you test out a different variable as well, and then compare them to like what was the difference in the results you were getting, and then of course analyze the results and try to stick to the one that won, and then split test it again with maybe slightly different hook, slightly different CDA. You can do a ton of testing here, and the more testing you do, the more iterations you do that are going to prove it are going to produce, of course, better results. So that's about it for this video. So key takeaways, like choose the approach you want to do, try it out, test it out, analyze the results you're getting. Don't focus on the reply rates, focus on the results you're getting. Keep it simple, personalize the strategy, and yeah, optimize it. So that's about it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.